This is a video tutorial on adding profile data to the Weaving Lab social system map. We're looking here at the personal mapping dashboard for a test entry. If this was your dashboard, you would see your name here. And again, you should already, if you're watching this video, have received your personal mapping dashboard link. There's a separate video about how to get that by opting into being on the map. So once you click your link, you come in here to the thumbnail view, and there's some explanations about how to do all of this, which I'm going over quite a bit of right now. If you scroll down, you'll get to the place where you can upload a photo of yourself and enter a short little headline or tweet describing your weaving work. Occasionally, this photo upload doesn't work, and you'll see something other than your picture there. And if you're having that kind of issue, simply send us the image to the mapping team, and we'll upload that for you. Once you've got that data in, and we strongly encourage you to just add at least this little bit of data to get started, so people don't see more than just your name on the map. You go ahead and click proceed, and this will take you, we'll save the data you have here, and it will take you to the profile tab on your mapping dashboard. All the options here, every field is optional. You don't have to fill in anything more than you want. This is a public map, so even though you used your email to opt into being on the map, it's not displayed unless you put it here in this field, along with whatever other contact information you would like to share. I'll go over other sections of the map in a little bit, but one thing I just want to emphasize, and maybe this is all you need in order to really get started, is that you need to make sure you go down to the bottom here and click Save My Answers, or if you click Next, which takes you to the Connections tab, that will also automatically save. But if you don't do that, you could waste quite a bit of time, and of course, we don't want that to happen. So now I'm going to just go through some of the different sections in the profile to say a little bit more about the kinds of things that we're mapping. But it's all fairly self-explanatory, and you really could just stop watching the video and dive in right now and get going. We have a section about your work, where we ask about different organizations or initiatives you're involved in. In a future iteration of the map, we might separately have organizations and initiatives as elements on the map that you could connect to, but right now it's just living within people's profiles. Here's an example of a website field, and you'll see this repeatedly. If you want to put multiple links in, separate them by a space and the pipe symbol, this little vertical line, so they'll show up better in the map, and also include HTTP, the full link that you could copy from a browser, in order to have them be clickable in your map profile. Otherwise, people will have to sort of copy and paste it to get it to work. Here's a long list of different roles that you might take on in the context of your work. And this particular list comes from the Living Cities Earth Network, which also has a parallel mapping initiative going. And part of the idea here is to test out their taxonomy, but also in the future, perhaps, to give you an option to show up on their map as well. And then we'll have some data that can automatically be ported over into the format that they're using. We have next a section about your weaving. And this also includes a very long taxonomy, in this case developed by the FITO Network, another one of our collaborators, which is also building their own map. And again, the idea might be that you could take some of your data here and just tell FITO you want to be on their map too, and it'll save some time and support their work. Here's an interesting feature that you don't always see, which is languages that you speak in our case, that you want to weave in or can weave in, so that we can start having conversations in languages other than English that we've been defaulting to as a lingua franca. We've got a section on geographic scales where you're interested or active in weaving. Often in these checklists, you'll see the other box, and if you click that, another little window will pop up where you can say more about that particular category. Sometimes we just ask about it anyway. A little section about how weaving work is funded, which we thought would be interesting to try to get a handle on. Again, totally optional whether you want to disclose this kind of data or not. Here's a section on where you are located, and there is a view on the map that shows physically where people are in the world. That will only work if you provide a postal code in addition to this other data. So if you want people to see where you are, at least down to that level of detail, please provide that data. If you only provide the other data, it will put you into the Gulf of Guinea if you don't include a postal code, which happens to be 0 degrees longitude and latitude. Who knew? We have a section on Weaving Lab engagement, where we're both letting people who are currently in stewardship roles indicate that that is the case. So you would click yes if you're currently active as a steward, and you can select one of these. And perhaps you're not in a stewardship role, or even if you are, there might be more that you want to take on. So if you want to take on additional roles or consider that, you're not making a commitment by checking off any of these things, but you're expressing interest. And we can then use that data to do some organizing to expand the cohort of people that are supporting the lab. You can say more about your participation intentions with the lab, or as well any support roles that you want to take in this field. We're interested in collecting stories about Weaving Lab, not so much in detail here in the map, but at least to find out who's got a story they want to share. So if you click yes, you can add a short description of what that story is. It'll at least whet everyone's appetite, and we'll see if this is something that emerges as a core function within the Weaving Lab. And back up here under different roles, you'll see that one of them is harvesting and sharing stories. So we may find people who want to do that work, as well as people that have stories to share. And that can be a way that we further energize and create greater value for lab participants. Here's another section, which is another experiment in collective and group process and dialogue we call conversation weaving. And there's a fairly detailed explanation about what that is here, but you may recall that back in, I think it was October, we ran an exercise using a tool called CoDigital, where we identified a ranked list of conversations or activities that people in the lab were interested in participating in. And if you click yes here, you'll see the top 10 or 11, actually one of the top 10 sort of had two parts, so we split it up. Of these particular conversations or activities, and you can check off any that you might be interested in participating in. You can say how you'd like to participate. Maybe we'll get some in-person conversations going. Maybe some of it'll happen in a text-based way. And of course, there's always Zoom and other video conferencing. And maybe you'd like to support this whole self-organizing process in addition to just saying you're interested in seeing if somebody else does some organizing. So if you say that you're interested in that, you'll see an explanation of 3 different roles you can take on in order to support the conversation weaving to actually happen, to do some collective sensing and meaning making from it, and just to generally support the whole set of functionality, because it will be a fair amount of work to go from just people checking off interests in these boxes to these conversations actually happening. So that's an interesting experiment that we're excited to be running. Finally, we've got a section on playful and interesting stuff that can show up in your profile: music, what kind of food you would be and why, which is kind of a playful and fun question, books that inspiring you, metaphors for weaving, personal interests, pastimes, etc. So please consider sharing some of that. Maybe we'll even end up developing some kind of a collaborative playlist on Spotify, YouTube, or both. And again, if you put a full link in here, it'll be clickable, which makes it a lot easier for people to access that. And then there's a section that doesn't show up on the map for you to offer comments, ask questions, make requests, and the mapping team will take a look at this. Once we have, we'll click off this yes box so that in a special view that we have on the map, we can see who's got questions we have answered and questions we haven't answered. So that pretty much summarizes it. Again, very important that you get to the bottom and you click Save My Answers or click Next to go over to the Connections tab, and there's a separate video to talk to you about how to add data there and what that's for. Thanks so much.